So every day I wake up and I wonder who's going to get canceled today. And without fail, it seems like there is someone new in the crosshairs. Now, 2 weeks ago, Max Temkin with Cards Against Humanity was put in the crosshairs. Anita Sarkeesian started taking aim. And this, I skipped to see exactly how it would play out. This is still playing out, though, so I'm going to cover a few things, lay down the baseline, and, well, we'll see exactly where it goes from there. So hey there, now before we get started, this is our second comic, Another Case for the Littlest Umbrella. Link is in the description, and we could still use help with this. This is our way that we go out and we challenge all of these companies that have forgotten their consumers. We go out, we challenge a mainstream that can't put out good products. We stay sponsor-free and so much more. More on this at the end of the video, and thank you for checking that out. So if you missed out on what exactly kicked this off and all the lovely, lovely buzzwords that ensue, well, you're in luck, because here's a recap. Now that there's great traction for Second City is Over Party, I want to turn our focus to another beloved Chicago institution, Cards Against Humanity. As the first queer black woman employee, I'd love to share my experience working there. Hashtag Cards Against Humanity is over. Now, they go on to tell you when they started, and they tell you that they just left a toxic work environment. That should say something about this person, maybe, if everywhere they've ever been is quote-unquote toxic. Now, their friends had their concerns, but I naively believed that it couldn't be worse than what I just left, or so I thought. For the first few months, everything was normal, and I say normal, I mean standard, well-meaning, white people BS. People asking if my hair is real, commenting on how often I changed it, those sorts of things. Oh man, fun person right off the bat. Well, S hit the fan one fine day when I was sent this message. So here we get a statement, we get no context with it, with her telling us, she said, hey, can we thread messages when possible? Then she says she gets a pile on in that. And Max Temkin suggests that the simple comment, it wasn't a quote-unquote polite request. So essentially, angry black woman. Now, the reason I'm going to open this up is because you saw the description here. Now, I want you to see the messages, and you tell me, is that what it actually said? Andrew here basically says that the thread this person is talking about, it's optional. And then someone else comes in and says the announcement thread, it's the only one required that you have to be in, right? Someone else comes in and says, yes, that's correct. Do what the other one, what you will. So you have a back and forth here. Someone saying, hey, I empathize with that point. It's a bit disorganized. Thank you for this information. You have your poster here saying, forgive my request for a little digital etiquette. Threads suck in their own way. We can all admit it's all bad. So you don't have anybody piling on. They're having a little fun. And here's Max. Thanks, Trent. There's over 100 people who've been using this together for about 5 years. We're probably not going to make any dramatic changes immediately, but I'm open to respectful suggestions about ways to improve Slack. Let's stop arguing about it here. So, essentially, angry black woman never ever makes its statement, does it? Now, reading this, too, I actually thought I missed something because we have this. Meanwhile, even though everyone was piling on the main channel, here's what happened in other channels. I was made fun of in random, and then Andrew Briggs decided to send me a DM to apologize while simultaneously making fun of me in another DM. Derp da derp. While all this was going on, I told all of the women on a private Slack how they called themselves allies, yet no one stood up for me until I called them out. They also brushed off the racism from that developer who we later hired, I think. The racism. I was like, where exactly is that? Did I miss something in here? After this happened and all was said and done, I was a social pariah to all of some office. People who I'd been working with for months stopped speaking to me or asking me to eat lunch with them for about 3 days, all because I asked if we could thread messages. As a follow-up to this, I finally was brave enough to speak out. I sent this email to our office manager, Nick, and check this email hell out. Now, I'm not going to read the entirety of this. I'm basically going to read down to this, but look at this. They give you a synopsis, and then suddenly it becomes about race and gender. So I wanted to address an issue that has been nagging me at the office since I've started, and I think now is the time to talk about it. I would appreciate if we kept this conversation between us and figure out if there is really a plan of action or a way to move forward. So I'm not sure if you read, saw, or heard what happened on Friday in the Slack, some office channel. Long story short, I made a simple and polite request for threading in a channel when possible. My thinking is sometimes important things get buried in the channel when extremely large tangents happen, and I thought I would ask if we could try doing it if we remember. What followed happened so swiftly that I was shocked. Someone replied to a message in an aggressive manner. You saw that reply, by the way. There is nothing else there. Feeling empowered to be rude to me and the request I made. The response was simply, if you don't like what is going on, then you can leave, which is not what it said at all. They said it's not required reading, so don't worry about it there. People began to pile on the message, confirming his point, all while being aggressive about it. So all of those were aggressive too. Now, behind the scenes of the main channel, this person sent me an insincere apology, also while sending direct messages to others, essentially making fun of me for making the request and talking about me, the request, without saying my name in channels this person knew I wasn't in. Now, I can understand why all of this might seem innocuous, but it is indicative of a larger issue of how race and gender dynamics play out and are compounded in the office. I was essentially attacked in a very public forum, and no one said anything about the aggressor and his behavior. As a result, I was treated as being the issue, and since it happened, people I thought had been friendly working relationship with will no longer speak with me. I feel like I'm being ostracized in the office, and to be honest, I've been feeling this way for months. So does this person sound like someone you would want to go have dinner with? Someone that you would want to have to listen to? Someone that you would want to have to entertain in the office? Absolutely not. Why? Because they took an innocuous thing. They turned it into an attack on them, and they keep going forward with that thinking. Now, then this person gets even crazier. So they say, instead of putting anything in writing, he has to meet me in real life. His response, well, tone is lost in digital communication. Let me ask others, RE, all the white people who piled on and have been racist to me for months, how they felt about what happened. Again, everything with Cards Against Humanity is over. So, okay, I learned my lesson. I was alone. All this happened, right? Well, let me tell you, everyone remembers Cards Against Humanity Saves America, right? Well, initially, that was supposed to be a day dedicated to reparations. Imagine a company who's a poster child for, I would have voted for Obama a third time, talking about how they're going to redistribute wealth to black people, that wealth, $20 for 400 years of abuse and subjugation. Well, that's something to say about that. So, I, along with a white coworker, wrote to them to express why the day was problematic. You can see the email and its response below. So we're not going to read all of this. We're going to read this portion and then this here because this is going to get a response. But partners, I have strong reservations about the Reparations Day 2017 holiday BS. And while it's still in the early planning phases, I'd like to address them. People in the company approached me after the meeting last week, and many share my concerns but aren't comfortable speaking up. I think it's important to consider how this day could be harmful for the company and the people involved. The issues are summarized here, but they are no way exhaustive. We're open to having a lengthier discussion in person or on a call if you like. Now remember that statement, having a lengthier discussion. Now notice here, it doesn't feel right that an overwhelmingly white company is telling the story of why reparations is important. What is the underlying sentiment here? You notice this is a question too. So apparently Max Temkin responded to this, saying something, and this is why he needs to be canceled. Not only did they not address me, even though I signed it, Max tried to defend the day because the founders are Jewish and paid for their college and such from Holocaust reparations, and that is why it is important to them. Quote, hi, just a private message to thank you again for speaking up about this. As to this point, you saw the point, we're talking about what's the sentiment here. One interesting piece of background on this, all of the partners are Jewish, and most of our families have received monetary reparations from the German government because we had grandparents and family members killed in the Holocaust. That money is part of how I paid to go to college. That's why we support the issues. Max. So you can see this is an answer to this. Now, because of that, Anita Sarkeesian decides to cancel Max Temkin, calling him an abuser. They tell you to check out the story. It's just one of many stories I've recently heard from a whisper network of acquaintances, friends, and former employees about how abusive the environment is there to women, particularly women of color. So they tell you to check that out. In addition to stories like that, many others which former employees have been too intimidated to share publicly. There have also been allegations of ARP against Max, to which he responded with deflective blame and implicit legal threats. You know, because, of course, people should go out there, they should cancel you, and you should never, ever get to defend yourself. And I've been complicit in his harm. I've heard about that allegation, and after some time had passed, I continued to be friendly with him. I strongly advocate believing women, but in this particular instance, when it came time for me to uphold that principle and act accordingly, I failed. I have no excuse for it. As the executive director of a nonprofit, I accepted donations from Max and Cards Against Humanity. Max and I have been on others' podcasts. I occasionally sought him out for advice. I stayed at his house and have worked on the Cards Against Humanity office while I was in Chicago. And even though I felt conflicted about it, I kept doing it. I looked around at our mutual friend and didn't see anyone else have a problem, so I gave myself permission to think that there wasn't one. I did not realize that they were doing the same to me. They were looking at me, and since I didn't seem to have a problem, they too assumed there wasn't one. This thinking was wrong. Back in 2014, when the abuse allegation was first published, there were people who spoke up. Various news outlets reported the story. They talk about that. And Max was permanently banned at a festival. Last year, another person bravely spoke at an event at the Cards Against Humanity office and confronted the team directly in their own house, calling out Max and the complicity of everyone around him. Now, then they go back to Teresa Stewart, and they say the abuse is not limited to those who speak out up against the ARP allegation. Workplace abuse and gaslighting is part of the culture against Cards of Humanity. Things are worse for those Max has direct power over, and they are worse of all for his female employees, who are most likely to suffer real harm for social punishment. Women he has employed, and especially women of color, are legitimately afraid of having their careers sabotaged by speaking out against him. There's a very real, very deep fear of speaking up because of how much power Max holds. So this goes on. It continues, trying to train wreck Max here, trying to train wreck Cards Against Humanity. And why is that? Because, listen and believe, because someone went out and said that, hey, I put this statement out here. People disagreed with me, and that made this racist. And because they said, hey, I'm Jewish, and I think reparations matter because you saw what happened to us. Yeah, that made them some type of monsters. These people are absolutely off their freaking rockers. I can't believe some of the stuff I see out there. And you know, Max and Cards Against Humanity, those people are complicit in this too. They are part of cancel culture. They are part of progressive culture. And when that stuff comes back to roost, well, who do you blame? You blame the very people that have been there, or the very people that are in denial about the culture that they are helping breed. But anyway, you tell me what you think about this. There's a lot there. You should read it. I would go through it and on, but oh my God, it is so full of itself. So to close, this is our second comic, another case for the Littlest Umbrella. Link is in the description. And stuff like this is absolutely imperative because you see the type of people out there that are bringing this crazy culture to light. We need escapism, we need fun, and we need people that will not kowtow to these types of folks. We won't kowtow to them. We can't get help from the media. We can't get help from any other outlet. But here we can talk about this stuff. And hopefully you'll help us share this. And hopefully you'll help us build up these things and say, yeah, those people out there, they have no power over anything. Also, I want to say thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here. You empower endeavors, and not enough people say that. You make this stuff possible. These weirdos, they forget that. You know, a lot of people, they want to bow and kowtow, like I said, to those folks. Those folks don't matter. We need to remind them by closing our wallets to certain things, opening them to others, and saying, yeah, their voices, they don't concern us at all. But anyway, let me know what you think about this stuff, and as always, thank you.